Alright, welcome nature fans to another one of BilboBrick09's special videos here on BilboBrick09's channel. And some of you may have already seen my Relics in the Past video. In that video I showcased quite a few relics from extinct creatures, namely dinosaurs, giant sharks, sea monsters, that sort of thing. So I figured today I would do some relics from the present day, namely some animals that are still alive and with us today, while at least other members of their species are. So you can probably tell that I'm a Florida boy with my alligator head here, or at least I went to Florida, but yes, I do live in Florida. I'm not telling you where though. And I got some other things, shark jaws, seashells, and the like, so it won't be quite as long as my other video, but I wanted to show them off anyway. So we'll save some of the better things for last. Let's start with some seashells. So here is like a spiral cone shell. Can't tell you exactly what it comes from, but it's a pretty cool looking shell. Kind of looks like a unicorn horn. In fact, it looks a lot like that. And if you saw my other video, I may have shown you the giant orthocones. I don't know if I did for sure. But anyway, they were like giant squid, except they lived in shells that looked a lot like this. And except the shells and the actual creatures were like 20 times bigger than this. So that would have been pretty scary, and this is probably something that looks the most similar to it that's still alive today. So here is a small conch shell. This is the one where if you listen closely, you're supposed to be able to hear the sound of the ocean whenever you want. And I think it works. Not quite as well as some of the bigger ones would, of course. And you actually see conch, raw conch, on menus a lot at Japanese sushi restaurants and stuff. I myself have never tried it. I would like to, though. I have a feeling it's a very rubbery, salty taste. But I can't say for sure. If you know, tell us in the comments below. So very horny, as you can see. So if you stepped on it, it probably wouldn't feel very nice. But there's obviously a somewhat big creature living in there at one point, something very similar to a slug or a snail or something like that. So you can find these on the beach a lot, or like me, I can just buy them at the stores near the beach. So there's a conch. And the last really cool shell I have here for you is a pan scallop. It's called that because, well, it looks like a frying pan. Like Sans from Lord of the Rings. So, pretty big. Here's my hand as a comparison. So, that's a pretty big seashell there. And once again, no, I didn't find any of these things. I just bought them. But, I'm sure you can find stuff that looks just as good walking along the beach. So, there you have very cool looking pan scallop shell. And the last thing that you would want to see at the beach that I have is a starfish. So here's the front, very pebbly texture, mostly because it's dried out and it's not alive anymore, of course. And then on the bottom here, here are all the small little tentacles or tubules that they use to pull themselves along with on the sea floor or the beach. And right in there, sorry, that is a bird feather, it does not belong there. That served as both its mouth and, how do I say this nicely, the other end, I'll say. So yeah, it's not, personally I wouldn't want a two-way street there. I think it'd be kind of nasty. But it serves well for starfish, and I believe that some of them will actually, when they catch prey, they will egest their stomach, and it like engulfs their prey and starts digesting them, and then it just pulls its stomach back in. Even weirder is the sea cucumber, and that actually egests all of its internal organs if there is a predator nearby to distract it, and they'll just regrow them. It should be nice for, it'd be kind of nasty, but it'd be a nice way if a lion was coming at you or something in the Sahara. I'm going to just get my bird. I don't feel like cutting the recording because it makes my job a lot harder now with an HD camera, unfortunately. The one drawback to having an HD camera. So, while we're on the subject of the beach, here is one of the two animals that I have relics from that you would not want to see at the beach. And this is a barb from a stingray. So, I'm actually going to take it out of here. Got it for $3. I think that's a good deal, plus tax, of course. But actually, no, it included tax. Very nice. So, as you can see, if you look very closely, and hopefully the HDness will be able to pick it up. There we go. Once it goes in, it's going to have a hard time coming out, because as you can see, all the little barbules are pointing this way, which means it's going to hurt when it comes back out. As a matter of fact, let me point it this way. I think this is where it's embedded in the skin, and then this will kind of like stick up a bit off of the tail. But yeah, because they're pointed this way, and if I rub my finger along here, it doesn't hurt, but I can feel it like grabbing at my flesh. It doesn't really hurt though. But yeah, once that's embedded in your skin, because the barbs are facing that way, the barbules, when it comes out, it's gonna rip a lot more than it did going in. Whoops. Sorry about that. So yeah, stingray, very dangerous. And it's going to hurt if it gets inside your foot or your leg. That's why they tell you to do the stingray shuffle if you're at the beach. I myself usually forget that, unfortunately. But I haven't had an accident, so that's good. And I'll put that back in the bag later. The second animal that you do not want to see at the beach, well, I think you've probably already guessed that, and that is a shark. And you're probably wondering whether there's a string and a tack hanging on it. That's because I usually have it hanging from my ceiling. And no, it doesn't scare me in the middle of the night. So I believe that these jaws come from that of probably a juvenile tiger shark. So what they do is they find the skeletons, or they get rid of them themselves, to put it nicely. But anyway, once they have captured the sharks, they take the jawbones out and they boil them. Jaws will show you that if you've seen that movie. And that takes all the extra little bits of flesh off, and then of course it gets rid of any bacteria that are on there. And in a shark's jaws, you're probably going to have a lot of that. Now, for those of you who don't know, sharks are continuously growing their teeth throughout their lifetime. So you can actually see in this jawbone the rows of teeth coming up behind the ones that are in the front at the moment. So you should be able to pick that up, I think, a little bit. And that is a coplet, unfortunately. It's been hanging from the ceiling for a while. But yeah, for example, on any one of them, I can see about 3 or 4 extras coming up behind the one that's in the front at the moment. So when they grab onto their prey, like my hand for example, a lot of times the teeth will fall out because they're not embedded in the mouth like they are in mammals or other creatures. Mammals for the most part though, because birds don't have teeth, and, well, other fish have this problem, I think, of losing their teeth, but it's mostly in sharks. So, tiger shark jaws. Wouldn't want my hand caught in there, but at least it's not a megalodon. For those of you who don't know what megalodon is, check out my Relics of the Past video. I tell you a great deal about megalodon. So, tiger shark jaws. Next thing I have is a scorpion. So this is actually somewhat expensive, $15 I got this for. But since I'm not allowed to have a live scorpion, I figured I'd get a dead one. Next best thing, right? So you can see the pincers there, but that's not what you have to look out for. That'll hurt if they pinch you, but this is really what's going to hurt you the most. And that's its stinger. And not only is it very sharp, but of course it has venom inside of it. So if that gets injected in you, well, make sure you go to the hospital. You can clearly count the legs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just like spiders, they are arachnids. Yes, all the insects, I believe, are arthropods. But scorpions, ticks, and spiders, and probably a couple others, are all arachnids. And they have 8 legs, just like Shelob the Great from Lord of the Rings. So, they'll give you a nasty sting. And the pincers will hurt too if they get to you. So the last two relics I have are both from alligators. So here is the hand from probably a juvenile alligator, because as you can see, I'm sure everybody's seen alligators bigger than that. But here is probably the claw from a similar sized alligator. There are only 2 species of alligators in the world. One, of course, is the one that we all know from Florida and Mississippi. And the other, I believe, lives in Asia. I believe. Any other thing that looks similar to that is either a crocodile, a caiman, or a gharial. Or gavial, depending on how you pronounce it or spell it. So, there's its little claw, and it can be a keychain if you want it to be. I myself just keep it on my shelf. And people, you're probably going to get a lot of questions about that too. And here, of course, is the main attraction, the alligator's head. And you can clearly see all of its nasty pointed teeth. And those, of course, are fake eyes. But everything else, you're led to believe is real. And should be real. And those teeth sure do feel real. Now, for those of you who don't know, the easy way to tell between an alligator and a crocodile is alligators have more of a U-shaped snout, like this one does, and crocodiles have more of a V-shaped snout, so it's a little more tapered towards the snout here. But pretty much the only place in the world where alligators and crocodiles live together in peaceful bliss is Florida. It's the only time you're going to see an alligator and a crocodile in the same area, and even there it's very rare to see a crocodile. So, anywhere else, as long as you know what to look out for, you're going to know it's either a crocodile or an alligator. But if you're in Florida, you may not necessarily know when it's grabbed your leg and you're quickly trying to decipher what animal is attacking you before you die. So, just make sure that you keep up to date on your facts. So, alligators found in southeast United States, and I believe the other species is in Asia. Anything else? There's about 20 to 25 species of crocodiles, and last I heard, the gavial, which is the one, wish I had a picture, but look them up because they're really cool. They're native to India, and they have just these incredibly long jaws, super thin, and they strictly use them for catching fish. And of course, it's also the caimans, which are kind of like the not quite as mean version of a crocodile, and those are usually found in South America. So I hope you enjoyed this pretty brief video. Saw some relics from sharks, alligators, some mollusks, and some arachnids. Yes, I got it right there. And Stingray. We have an old Stingray man here. So, make sure you look out for these at your local nature shop. I've picked these up at a variety of different locations. So, I don't have any more relics for the most part, but if I get some more, I will make sure that I shoot some videos on them. So, make sure you also check out the relics of the past video where we feature some dinosaurs and other extinct creatures. And we'll see you next time. And make sure that Mr. Alligator Man doesn't eat your dog the next time you're going for a walk.